Shalom, shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders, the Jam, Master, ruling, teach, word, and scripture. Salutations to the Akim that are doing this work in truth and faith and in all sincerity. Today's lesson is basically going to be about the Fed now. You know, as it will be titled, the Lord is making swift moves now. And so without further ado, I'll just let this play. You know, this is going into the MOT to the B, and basically the prophets from the apostles all the way down. We're saying that we told you so. Okay. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise. And he promised to destroy Babylon off the face of the earth. I digress.
Just launched its FedNow service, a new instant payment platform that promises to bring money transfers in the United States into the 21st century. And yet, there are some online calling FedNow the first step towards a dystopian future of government surveillance and control in the United States. So, quite the contrast. You see, while a lot of news about FedNow has been pretty unremarkable, you might not have even heard about it, there are people online who worry that it will increase the government's ability to track transactions and even freeze bank accounts, with some even suggesting that they might do so for something as minute as, say, liking a post that's critical of the government. But there is a lot of misinformation and speculation being spread on TikTok, YouTube videos, and online posts around what this service is, what it will allow the government to do, and whether it's really just a CBDC or central bank digital currency in disguise. And I think a lot of it really stems from a misunderstanding of how things currently operate, because if you have a better understanding of that, you'll see that FedNow isn't really a seismic shift in what the Federal Reserve will be doing. So in this video, I'll provide those details to explain how things currently operate, what FedNow is and how that sits in the picture, why people keep bringing up Ripple, a cryptocurrency that skyrocketed this week leading up to the launch of FedNow, and why, while it's important to be diligent with a new service like this, why the most egregious claims are really wild speculations with not a whole lot of merit behind them. But before I jump into that, first, a word from our sponsor, the Federal Reserve. That's a joke. Please wait. Let's start from the beginning. What exactly is FedNow? Well, in short, it's a new platform that will allow financial institutions, namely banks and credit unions, to transfer money between one another in mere seconds, almost instantly, tackling a problem that really shouldn't exist in the modern age, which is that it takes a heck of a long time to send money around. As you might know, payments and transfers like your payroll, bill payments, and even transfers between friends can take days to settle, meaning that while you might see the amount leave your account right away, it can often have a lag of time before it actually enters the recipient's account and is usable by them, something that's made even worse by operating hours, weekends, and banking holidays. Now, there are some methods for sending money faster, such as a wire transfer, which is same day, but that is often quite costly to customers. Banks may offer alternative systems like Zelle, which for my fellow Canadians is the equivalent to Interac, that will allow faster money transfers between peers, but those have limited use cases and typically cap the amount of money you can actually send in a day. And there are alternatives outside of banking, such as money transmitters like Venmo, who offer digital wallets that let you, again, transfer money between other digital wallets and even buy stuff using that money. But it faces similar restrictions, and if you want to send that money to your bank account, it will again often take a few days, charging a fee if you want an instant transfer. It all makes for a pretty tedious and frustrating process, with the worst part being that there are countries out there who don't have to deal with that. India, for example, is a leader in real-time payments and transfers, and even countries like Nigeria have employed similar processes within their financial system, allowing people to send and receive money within seconds. So America, which has always been a leader in financial markets, has actually been a laggard when it comes to real-time payments and transfers. But that all appears to be changing now with FedNow. Here's how it works. Let's say person A is looking to buy inventory for their business from business B. So they go on their credit union or bank's app and initiate a transfer. The payment will be quickly screened by their respective institution, and a payment message will be sent to the Federal Reserve's FedLine network, a current network that has more than 10,000 participants on it, that FedNow will be operating over. The payment message will be instantly validated and passed along to the recipient's institution, and upon confirmation, FedNow will debit and credit the master accounts of the respective institutions and notify them accordingly. In other words, because the Federal Reserve is the bank of the banks, it'll be able to settle things at that master account level, at which point the banks themselves can then notify their clients and credit their accounts accordingly, making the funds more or less available immediately, with the entire process expected to take under 20 seconds from start to finish. Best of all, compared to traditional methods, the service is available 24/7, 365, meaning you can finally pay your share of mom's present that you forgot to pay your sibling.
What if there was a way to know if a stock will be bullish or bearish the day before? The truth is, there actually is one way.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Love. I'm in the middle of New York City, obviously at the Charging Bull here. Pretty representative as options trading has become one of the fastest growing money-making opportunities out there. Trade with me now is very different. I'm going to show you how we're different. Is your trading account suffering right now, but you're wondering, what do I do to start winning consistently and start making those big returns you've seen other traders make, the returns that you know are possible? Here's the honest truth. I struggled like that for a while. Trading did not replace my job for 15 years until I basically had a stroke of luck. My cousin, who's a professional stock trader, making over $2 million a year, finally had me over to his house and showed me some behind the curtain stuff, so to speak. I know that sounds a little storybook, but it was quite honestly the missing piece I needed to get to the next level. I was a decent trader before that, but once I learned to look at a specific set of market internals every day, which I call the Market Weather Report, that's when things really took off for me. I'm actually a chef. You can look me up. Chef Michael Love. I wrote a cookbook called The Salvage Chef Cookbook. But I love trading, and I got
meaning you can finally pay your share of mom's present that you forgot to pay your sibling on Christmas Day. Now, outside of speed and availability, there are a number of other benefits to FedNow as well. The system complies to ISO 20022, which is a global standard that codifies what details need to be included in the payment messaging, making it easier to digitally validate and process the transactions, allowing for that instant settlement. The service also sounds like it's going to be more affordable than some alternatives. Compared to things like automated clearinghouses, which is how things like payrolls and other EFTs are processed, which can cost upwards of $1, FedNow will cost 4.5 cents per transfer, so obviously pretty cheap. And it will include advanced fraud detection and prevention tools, so great. Now, the first phase of this service is launching this month, with additional features expected to be released later on. But that doesn't mean that these instant transfers will be immediately available. While there are currently 57 early adopters, which includes the likes of JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, the list does exclude some pretty big names like Bank of America and Citigroup. On top of that, companies will actually need to build their own interfaces for FedNow services, with FedNow itself actually just being a foundation for building money transfer services on top of, the likes of bill payments and account-to-account transfers. So some of those services might not be available immediately, but people are expecting a pretty quick uptake of this. The service does have a receive-only option, meaning that a participant can, rather than doing the full sort of registration, sign up to just be able to receive funds on the platform. Well, again, the service does require that master account. It's intended to be flexible to allow smaller institutions to effectively partner with the larger companies, so that they likewise gain access to the FedNow service. And that's really it in a nutshell. It's a instant payment platform. There's not really a whole lot exciting about it, but it does sound like good news at a very broad level. So why are people so concerned about it? Well, like I mentioned, some of these concerns are very valid. For example, one of the big ones that's been highlighted is the risk of fraud. Traditional transfers can be held up to avoid fraud. And if there's any questions or concerns that come up along the way that somehow suggest that this transfer should not be happening, it can usually be reversed and the money sent back to the sender. But you don't have that with an instant payment platform. The transfers are irrevocable. And because the money is available immediately, it can be withdrawn immediately by the recipient. So if you're ever tricked or scammed into sending money to someone, there's not a whole lot that can be done if it's transferred over the FedNow network. On top of that, people are concerned that institutions might not be able to handle instant transfers or payments in the case of, say, bank withdrawals. If you recall with Silicon Valley Bank, it had $42 billion of withdrawals in a single day and had to scramble to raise those funds by loans or selling securities. So you can imagine the problems if those withdrawals would have been instant and the bank had no time to try and raise that money. Although there is currently a cap of $500,000 per transfer, and banks can set further limits on top of that, but it just goes to highlight that there are other considerations here with instant transfers and payments. But those aren't really the concerns that are circulating online. The primary concern is about government abuse. Some don't like the idea that the Federal Reserve, who is supposed to be the steward of the US dollar, that they'll now be offering a service within the market that they're supposed to be a sort of watchdog over. On top of that, there are people who have a number of privacy concerns with the Federal Reserve facilitating the bulk of these transactions, that it will more or less have sole control over these instant payments and all the data that comes with that. Some are also concerned that because of the close ties between the government and the Federal Reserve, even though their operations are technically separate, that the government might access this information. Then there are the claims about the CBDC, the Central Bank Digital Currency. CBDC is a digital currency that, much like cryptocurrencies, lives entirely online, can allow you to transact without using a financial institution per se, but unlike cryptocurrency, which relies on a blockchain.
Okay, you get the point. I mean, the Lord is, definitely working. So, Isaiah 66:16, for by fire and by a sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. And I don't even know why I did that, but it's got to be the Spirit. I was thinking of that scripture right away. So, this be short and sweet. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying, giving our praise to the Yahweh. By Hashem Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Rakah Kodash, and until next time, Shalom.